grew into an idea for a car so outrageous, we just had to build it.
Well, it's not exactly for everyone, is it?
That's kind of the point.
It's how we do things.
The Plymouth Prowler is a car that's hard to miss, even if you're blind as a bat. This bad boy was first introduced in 1997, and it immediately turned heads. Its retro-inspired design was like nothing else on the road, and its performance was nothing to scoff at either. This is the story of the Plymouth Prowler. The concept for the Plymouth Prowler was first introduced in 1993 at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit, Michigan. The concept was created by a team of designers and engineers at Chrysler's Advanced Design Studio, led by Tom Gale, the vice president of design for Chrysler Corporation at the time. Gale and his team wanted to create a modern interpretation of the classic hot rod, with a focus on performance, style, and innovation. The Prowler concept featured a sleek, low-slung body, a distinctive grille, and oversized wheels and tires that gave it a bold, aggressive look. It was designed to turn heads, and succeeded. The Prowler's curvy body and low stance made it look like it was always on the prowl, no pun intended. And if you were lucky enough to snag one in one of its flashy colors like purple or yellow, you were sure to be the center of attention. The Plymouth Prowler was first introduced in 1997. It was only available in one trim level and came standard with a 3.5-liter V6 engine that produced 214 horsepower and 221 foot-pound of torque. It was only offered with an automatic transmission and had a top speed of around 118 miles per hour. For the 1999 model year, the Prowler received a few updates. It got a new, more powerful 253 horsepower, 3.5-liter V6 engine. Now that may not sound like much by today's standards, but back in the late 90s, that was enough to make your grandmother's dentures rattle. Plus, the Prowler's lightweight design made it a nimble little car that could zip around corners like nobody's business. No, it didn't come with a manual transmission, but rather a 4-speed automatic with auto stick. The auto stick meant you could pretend it was a manual transmission. The suspension was also tweaked to improve ride quality and handling, and the wheels were updated with a new design. In 2000, the Prowler received a limited edition model called the Woodward Edition. It was named after the Woodward Dream Cruise, a classic car event held in Detroit. The Woodward Edition featured a unique orange and black paint scheme, as well as a number of interior and exterior enhancements. The 2002 model year was the final year for the Plymouth Prowler. It received a number of updates, including a new 4-speed automatic transmission with auto stick that was smoother and more responsive than the previous version. The addition of 2 new colors, Prowler Orange Pearl Coat and Inca Gold Pearl Coat. The suspension was also improved, and the car got a new rear axle ratio that helped improve acceleration.
Sit.
Honey, that was a Plymouth Voyager.
The Prowler was all about making a statement. It was a car for people who wanted to stand out, who wanted to be noticed, who wanted to say screw you to the status quo. And in that regard, it succeeded. Despite its unique design and impressive performance, the Plymouth Prowler ultimately failed to meet sales expectations and was discontinued after just 5 years of production. There were several factors that contributed to its downfall. One of the main reasons why the Prowler struggled to sell was its impracticality. It had a tiny trunk that could barely fit a week's worth of groceries, let alone a set of golf clubs. And the Prowler's low ground clearance and stiff suspension made it a bumpy ride, especially on poor maintained roads. But hey, if you wanted practicality, you wouldn't be buying a car like this in the first place. It also lacked features that modern car buyers had come to expect. Another factor that worked against the Prowler was its price. When it first debuted in 1997, the base model had a starting price of about $38,000, a steep price tag for a car that didn't offer much in the way of practicality or luxury. And as the years went on, the price only continued to climb, with some special edition models topping out at over $50,000. But perhaps the biggest reason why the Prowler failed was its limited appeal. While it may have turned heads and grabbed attention on the street, it simply wasn't a car that appealed to a broad audience. It was too niche, too specialized, and too focused on making a statement rather than providing a practical everyday driving experience. So is the Plymouth Prowler a car worth buying? Well, that depends on what you're looking for. If you want something practical, comfortable, and fuel efficient, then the Prowler is not the car for you. But if you want something that's gonna turn heads, that's gonna make you feel like a badass, that's gonna give you that rush of adrenaline every time you get behind the wheel, then the Prowler might just be the car of your dreams. With that being said, the Prowler has since become something of a cult classic among car enthusiasts. Its rarity, unique design, and impressive performance have made it a sought-after collector's item, with some models fetching high prices at auctions. It may have had its flaws, but it was a car that dared to be different, and that's something that should be celebrated. So if you see a Plymouth Prowler cruising down the street, give it a wave, give it a honk, and appreciate it for what it is. A unique and unforgettable part of automotive history. The final Plymouth Prowler rolled off the assembly line on February the 15th, 2002. Hey, what'd you think about the Prowler, the Plymouth Prowler? Yeah, that was a pretty nice car back in the day. What did you think? Leave your comments below. We want to know what you thought about the Prowler. You know, when I first saw this back in the 90s, I'm like, growing up in South Texas. And what'd you think? Leave your comments below because we want to know. Hey, we got some great news. My brother and I, we have created a new channel. It's called the Memory Lane Channel. And you may be asking, what's the Memory Lane Channel? Well, it's all about the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You know, how it was to grow up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You know, the fads of the 60s or the fads of the 80s, the music and everything that we miss, you know? So we're so excited to have the Boker Brothers Car Review Channel, and now we have the Memory Lane Channel. You can look that up in our description below. It's called the Memory Lane Channel. Hey, if you're watching this channel, like, subscribe, and hit that bell for future notifications. This is Michael J. We will catch you again next week.